Hello, I'm Judy Lamm, and like you, I'm wild about Washington. Pink salmon continue their migration into Puget Sound this month. Thousands of people are now catching them in rivers, and the number returning this year is so high, the daily limit has been raised.
Salmon that you caught out in the Strait of Olympia a month or so ago were just beginning their return to the natal rivers, and one of the major rivers they return to is this one, the Skagit River in North Puget Sound. The fish return this time of year, start returning in August. The bulk of the run runs into the river in around the 1st of September, first 2 weeks of September, migrate upstream, and then spawn in mid-September through mid-November. So these fish are returning back to their natal streams where they were hatched just 2 years ago. We're down on the lower Skagit, just a few miles above tide water, and what we're attempting to do is intercept the pinks as they swim up the river on the tides. So these fish pretty much are constantly on the move. We're attempting to anchor up in areas that would intercept their traveling paths. They travel in pretty narrow lanes, and we want to anchor in a region that they'll be traveling and being exposed to our reels. There's a fish right there. And as the fish travel up the river, we put the gear in the water. The kind of gear we normally use here in the Skagit when they're fishing this way is the guys tend to fish with small spoons, wobbling spoons like this on leader, or spin glow and sand shrimp. You want to anchor, and then, like I said, in the feeding areas, traveling areas. Attempt to have this so it's just 4 or 5 inches off the bottom, fluttering in the face of the fish as they come by, and they'll grab them. The fish aren't real sophisticated. If you're in the right spots, they're pretty easy to catch. As we just saw, even cougar grads can catch the fish. Provide lots of recreation. A little bit later in the season, we just have tremendous numbers of people fishing the Skagit for pink salmon. Last Saturday and Sunday, we estimated that there was about 8,000 angler trips here in the Skagit, which is a lot of fishing effort. It's a real boost to all the local economy. Lots of fish hooks are sold. People are having a great time. The nice things about the river fisheries is they're really accessible to all kinds of folks. You have a lot of folks in small boats, little boats like this, this 14-foot boat. Some larger boats, some really small boats. See lots of people on the bank fishing. Literally hundreds of people a day are on the banks of the river fishing. During September on the Skagit, Snohomish, Snoqualmie rivers, people should be able to expect to catch several of these fish a day. Through most of the month, with the best fishing being in the first half of the month rather than the second half of the month.
Native fish are being removed from a portion of Cedar Creek near the eastern Washington town of Ione. This is in preparation for the removal of a dam that no longer serves any purpose.
We're up here on Cedar Creek in Pend Oreille County, just downstream of the Cedar Creek Dam, and we're removing rainbow trout from the stream today. Rainbow are non-native to the Pend Oreille system, and we're removing them because Ione has plans of removing the Cedar Creek Dam. There is a native population of cutthroat trout found above the dam. When the dam's removed, we don't want the rainbow trout, which are found below the dam, moving upstream and hybridizing with the cutthroat. We're electroshocking the rainbow out of the stream, and to do that we're using what's called an electroshocker. What the shocker does is sends an electric current through the water column. Any fish that are in that area will be stunned temporarily. They'll float to the surface, and we'll collect them with nets. We then put them in buckets and transport them with our hatchery truck to a new location. Bull trout are a threatened species, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recently proposed to designate Cedar Creek as critical habitat for bull trout. The Cedar Creek Dam blocks approximately 9 miles of that habitat, of really good bull trout habitat. So the town of Ione has agreed to remove the dam, but that is put us in a bit of a difficult fish management situation because we have cutthroat trout residing above the dam and non-native rainbow below the dam. The dam was constructed in 1950 to provide a municipal water supply for the town of Ione, and in 1988 they went to drilled wells. So this dam hasn't been in use for several years. It's at risk of failure in high flows because it's eroding around some of the abutments. The Department of Ecology has issued orders to Ione asking them to fix the safety problems. And the least cost alternative for Ione is dam removal as opposed to fixing it and installing fish passage. Bull trout are an important species in Northeast Washington. They really add to the diversity of species that we have here, and we hope that one day we'll be able to have a recreational fishery for bull trout once they're recovered.
The coming fall in Washington means hunting seasons for waterfowl. A Department of Fish and Wildlife biologist says the conditions for this year's hunt appear to be good, with an improvement over last year.
For waterfowl hunters in general, it's going to be a good year as far as our breeding surveys are showing. Of course, a lot of the success in the fall depends on the fall weather conditions and migration, which are pretty hard to predict. But as far as the breeding numbers, we're in good shape. A lot of northern birds should be coming into our state. The Canada goose numbers continue to be strong. As far as snow geese that occur up in the Skagit, particularly good year again this year. We've had 6 or 7 really good years for snow geese, a lot of juveniles in the population. And last year we had a record number of snow geese in the Skagit area. But for local geese, as far as the September seasons go, it should be a good year again. We have an early hunt starting in as early as September 1st in some areas, but most areas start on September 6th. And we're expecting good hunting conditions, good numbers of birds for those seasons. Should be a little bit better hunting conditions later in the season, though, for ducks, in that the northern areas are producing a little bit better than our local breeding population. So be looking for better conditions later in the season, given good weather conditions for hunting. Last couple of years with the weather conditions we've had, it's been fairly slow in a lot of areas, and especially last year, I think was probably the slowest in some people's memory in some parts of the east side. But this year, I think, there's a potential for a lot better conditions with the more northern birds coming down. But a lot of it, again, is going to depend on the weather conditions during the hunting season. As far as acquiring habitat and providing enhancements for some of our waterfowl areas, we were fortunate in the past couple of years to have an increase in our state duck stamp price, which goes directly for habitat enhancements in Washington. And that increase was put together by some efforts of waterfowl hunters and conservation groups that went to the legislature and wanted to see some more funding for those kind of programs. This next couple of years, we've programmed in a lot more habitat enhancement projects using that money. As far as appreciative users, Washington's one of the most diverse states in terms of waterfowl on the Pacific coast. We have a variety of viewing opportunities ranging from Puget Sound to outer coast rocky areas, agricultural fields, eastern Washington, rivers, ponds. So it leads to a real diversity in waterfowl populations, a lot more than some of our surrounding states. And we're really fortunate in this area for appreciative use and for the hunters to be able to have that diversity of habitat and waterfowl population.
The Department of Fish and Wildlife has acquired 2,500 acres of valuable habitat next door to the Oak Creek Wildlife Area in Yakima County. Not only will it provide habitat for elk, bighorn sheep, owls, and eagles, but it will also provide us with additional recreational land.
We went up Oak Creek itself. We looked at some beaver ponds where we have the wonderful riparian corridor of Oak Creek itself. Very rich, lots of nice vegetation, fully functional riparian with Oak Creek, which has cutthroat, brook trout, rainbow, and bull trout all in Oak Creek. The Tieton River, we came up along the Tieton River near Bear Canyon. We went through the different habitats that I've already mentioned, and now we're up on top of Divide Ridge looking out across the project towards Oak Creek itself. So we're getting a sense for what the entire landscape looks like. This project is a portion of efforts to protect the East Cascades ecotone, where the forest grades into the shrub steppe, where you basically, the trees end and the dry country begins. And we're trying to keep some of that intact long term. The threat on this project was from urban development. Basically, the city of Yakima and surrounding environs is moving up into the mountains, and people understandably want to live in beautiful places, and we are finally experiencing on the east side the type of growth that has gone on much of the rest of the state for many years before this. And essentially, we still have some opportunities to protect long-term significant landscapes. And this project is a huge step in that direction. We have these wonderful blocks of habitat owned by the department, the Oak Creek Wildlife Area being just a fabulous example. And so this will help to ensure some of that is protected long term and is managed properly. And it's not being locked up by any stretch of the imagination. People will be able to continue to hunt and camp and fish and travel about in these hills. And we want to keep it in an accessible wild state. And so the Oak Creek acquisition that we're working on here is just a huge, wonderful step in that direction. And working with our partners, the Nature Conservancy in particular, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and others, we're going to make this whole thing happen.
We are a nonprofit conservation organization. Our mission is to ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, and their habitat. We have about 10,000 volunteers across the United States and in Canada. We have about 9,000 members here in the state of Washington, and we raise money so that we can go out and help permanently protect and do habitat enhancement type projects on the land, so that all of us, whether we're hunters or non-hunters, can go out there and see these great, magnificent animals and be able to enjoy the outdoors for future generations to come.
Here's where to see Washington's wildlife during the next few weeks. This has been Wild About Washington, brought to you by the employees of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. Working together, we can keep Washington's outdoor heritage for future generations. Thank you for watching.